This is White Knuckle, a game about climbing as high as you can go. And, as I found out less than a minute into my first run, one that isn't afraid to punish you if you don't know what you're doing. But this game is roguelike. You restart and learn from your mistakes. And while the gameplay initially might not look like anything special, especially when the player you're watching continues to die in stupid ways, as I climbed higher and higher, I became obsessed with one simple goal: beating my friend's high score. I'm already 30% of the way there. What could possibly stop me from going that little bit further? I kept climbing, and then falling again. It may seem like a monotonous, repeating pattern, but if you want to get into fundamentals, all video games are. If you've heard of a gameplay loop before, this is what it's describing. Very broadly speaking, the things players repeatedly have to do to beat the game. A common type of gameplay loop is actually a psychological concept. It's known as a compulsion loop, which is— this sounds like a video essay. Okay, I'll put it briefly. I don't want to make another hour-long video. A compulsion loop looks like this. You receive a goal, you have to do something to obtain that goal, and then you obtain the goal. This loops back into obtaining a new goal. For White Knuckle, your goal, or at least mine, was a new highest climb. You have to do runs to learn how to climb, and eventually, one of those runs will be your new highest climb. That repeats until you beat the game. The repetition isn't a design flaw, it's fundamental game design. It's a loop designed to make a player achieve one goal: to climb. To this end, it first teaches you about how to climb up short heights. Then it gradually has you go longer and longer without recovering your stamina, so that you learn how to climb more optimally. But then the game starts throwing obstacles at you. Take these flies. They simply come towards you and knock you off whatever you're holding. You can easily kill them with your hammer, but that's hard to do when you're grabbing onto a ledge with one hand, and you only have so long to grab at the hammer with the other before your one hand runs out of stamina And it doesn't stop at the flies. You can also encounter these tendrils, which, when touched, pull you towards the mouth, quickly killing you. You can remove the tendril by bonking it with your hammer, but that immediately drops you, which can be dangerous. So what are you to do? Well, you can go around the tendrils entirely. They're not usually very difficult to avoid. But sometimes, especially when the liquid was close, I would accidentally run into them. What then? Surely you're not just done for if there doesn't happen to be something close by you can grab, right? And, indeed, these tendrils do serve another purpose. You can grab onto the tendrils, which does not immediately pull you into the maw. This theoretically makes them into just another handhold to grab onto, so long as you're careful. And sometimes you're gonna need that extra hold. Mapping this back to the compulsion loop, in your quest to get higher, you now have to get past an obstacle. You try different things to get past it, and eventually you find something that works. Only then do you get your new high score, after which you climb higher and find new obstacles. So up and up I climbed. Obstacle after obstacle I encountered. Repeatedly I failed, only to overcome it later. Slowly, I inched my score forwards. And eventually, I hit an interlude. Interlude serves as a small breather from climbing. It also offers two things which make it a helpful tool for progressing through the game. The first is a choice between one of 3 random power-ups. I told you this was a roguelike. These can be varying levels of helpful. The second is a floppy disk. I'll explain what that does soon. I did kind of wish I could save and quit here, take a break, go grab a bite to eat, play a game with some friends, but that wasn't an option, and you can't stay in Interlude forever. Eventually, you have to open the door to the elevator if you want to continue. Of course it isn't that easy. White Knuckle wants you to climb to get higher. It's not gonna whisk you away on an elevator. So I climbed. From the start of Pipeworks, you can already tell that the section's gonna be different. Rooms are smaller, the options to get higher feel more limited. It's suffocating compared to the giant rooms of the silos, but I kept going. I had to climb to beat the high score. Tendrils and flies are everywhere, making climbing even small distances a nuisance at times. But at this point, I was in the swing of things. Hit the tendril off me, kill the fly, and keep climbing ever higher. Up a ladder, through a chute, using whatever leverage is available as fast as possible. As high as you can go, with caution. But death no longer has to be the end. because the interlude had a second, very important purpose. If you get a floppy disk during the interlude, it allows you to respawn. You lose all of your items, yes, but you don't have to climb all the way back to interlude. It's a helpful fallback when you know you're gonna make mistakes. But you're only allowed to purchase one floppy disk here per run, because the game doesn't want you to infinitely respawn in the same location. It wants you to climb. Up, 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 and then a new area. Pipe organ. A mess of pipes and steam that can blow you off your grip. But it's no problem. It's easier to deal with than the flies. Sure, it messes me up sometimes, but if every single obstacle was trivial to pass, then they wouldn't be obstacles at all. After a narrow tunnel, ascent. I said before that this game wouldn't just give you height for free, it wants you to climb. But here's a lift. Despite how suspicious it is, activating it sends you upwards.
You are en route to habitation yellow.
Is that somewhere safe, a reprieve from the climbing?
Please enjoy your alert.
As I thought, the game wants you to climb. It's not just gonna take you up via lift. Far below me, I can see the liquid rising up slowly. I have time, so I carefully try to hit the buttons that let the elevator go higher. From the end, I don't realize that I can go back the way I came, so I climb on top of the nearest beam, jumping down onto what was probably once the lift's tunnel. I turn it on just in time to be safe. Now it's just a ride to freedom.
Warning.
Of course, this game wants you to climb. I try to make my way to the control room, but tragedy. I don't die immediately, but I don't survive very long after. But I am so close to beating my friend here. I noticed that I climbed higher in meters than their score. And I worked out that your score is actually a measure of your speed times your height, by actually reading the screen for once. So the faster you climb, the higher your score gets multiplied. This realization sparked something in me. I love speedrunning. It's been a hobby of mine for a while now, and I've brought it up in almost every video on this channel. And now the game is asking me to do that to accomplish my goals? My response was a no-brainer. I quickly make it back to Interlude and die while experimenting with new power-ups. But on my next run, learning from my mistakes, I make it all the way to Ascent. This time, I'm careful. I hit the button and...
You have 30 seconds.
A time limit. I scramble back to the lift, and it finally carries me up. No sudden stops or buttons I have to press, just a relaxing ride for a few moments. But only a few. My first impression of the world above is that it's no sanctuary from the hell below. Although it is nice that the liquid doesn't seem to be chasing. And here is the aforementioned Habitation Yellow, some huge cylindrical concrete tower. I wonder if this is a dystopia. It's not particularly inviting, but it is the only place I can go higher, which also makes it the only place I can increase my score. But if I want to get in, I have to first hit a breaker, and the room for it shows me that things are about to get dark. My only reprieve is this flashlight, which I have to occasionally shake to keep bright. After hitting the power switch, I can head inside. I find myself in a new safe room, and it's scary that the game wants me to save before whatever comes next. But it's welcome, the last save was over 1 kilometer ago. I get a new power-up, I put down a save point, acquire a flare gun? I suppose the extra light source is welcome, but this makes me think that whatever's ahead is that much more difficult. There's a long, dark, vertical chute. I should just need to climb up this, shaking my flashlight every few seconds so that I can see. Which is easy enough. There's also places to stand every so often so that stamina isn't a concern. And since the liquid isn't chasing, I can take my time going upwards. Of course not. The goal might be climbing, but the game isn't going to make it easy. The monster follows you along the wall, but as long as you're moving consistently, you can outpace it. But if you slow down too much... In the patch notes, it's called Teeth. Since there's a safe room right before this, you can try again a few times before you have to restart. If you're ever scared you might die, you can toss yourself back down to the safe room. but if you fall from too high, you'd still die. The game wants you to climb. It's gonna try to kill you if you fall. And I got stuck trying to get past this. Teeth always seemed too fast to get away from. To make things worse, I kept messing up and getting stuck. Eventually, I ran out of saves.
Warning. Severe.
After losing in such an annoying way, I had trouble getting back there. I kept dying in silly ways because instead of focusing on the situation before me, all I could think about was the dread of being stuck in the elevator shaft again. But during one run, I had an idea. Early on, I got power-ups to increase my climbing speed. One of the biggest issues I had was that Teeth was too fast. With this speed upgrade, that section would be a lot easier. With this realization, I tried to play my absolute best. Thanks to this, I quickly make it through silos, pipeworks, and ascent. Then I got another climbing speed upgrade. Now I just had to be fast. And careful. Fast and careful. But as I hear Teeth appearing, I notice a glowing hole in the wall. I climb into it and find myself in a little office space, one that Teeth can't get into. It's a safe room, a place to pause and regain my stamina before I continue the climb. I looked around for a way up that didn't involve getting chased by Teeth, but I find nothing. So, after a bit of planning from this safe vantage point, I continue. When I got stuck, I would throw myself to the bottom since Teeth wouldn't chase. It is an obstacle, difficult to surpass, but it didn't need to kill me if I messed up. Eventually, I found a red-lit vent. I climb through it, and I can finally make my escape from the elevator shaft. With Teeth no longer chasing, I am finally free to take a breather, because for once, there's no imminent threat. No liquid or monster chased me anymore. Despite my tendency towards speedrunning, I knew that if I rushed here, I would probably make a mistake. And this just isn't where I wanted to die. So I slowly climb up the shell of Habitation Yellow. Whatever was up here, it would certainly bring me closer to that score I'd been aiming for. High up, I find an entrance. The name card calls it Delta Labs. And given that everything so far had the theme of science experiments gone wrong, I felt like this was the finale. Because if a science experiment had gone dangerously wrong, this would be where it would happen. Immediately, I find myself in a tight vent, and I'm given a simple warning. Don't let go. Soon after, I see mysterious hands and weird holds in the vents. Are the hands gonna grab me? Take me somewhere? Without meaning to, I found out. I try to listen to the warning, grab onto something, anything that will keep me in place, but I can't get a grip on anything. I'm let go right before a fleshy, gaping maw. In my infinite wisdom, I try to attack it with a hammer. I have the realization that if my run were to end right now, it would probably beat my friend's high score. But I had to be close to the end at this point. Do I try to beat the game, or do I stick to my goal of getting the bigger number? I already knew my answer. Before anything else, I wanted to win. And win I did. By over 150 arbitrary internet points, I beat my friend's score. I started regretting it pretty much immediately after the fact. If I'd kept trying, I might have been able to beat the game. Surely the end couldn't be that far, right? How much longer could it really be? Sure, initially I only wanted to beat the score, but the game had given me a much simpler goal. A single instruction that possessed me more than any minor victory could. Climb. So, I decided on a new goal. I was going to reach the top. Soon after, I get another run back to Delta Labs. I'd learned how to get through everything else relatively consistently. Now, I just had to learn this one new area. I go through the vents and, following the literal writing on the wall, learn that keeping an eye on the hands makes them go away. So, to make sure they can't get near you, you have to keep your head on a swivel, constantly spinning about to make sure they aren't anywhere around you. Importantly, I could take my time with this. After all, getting a high score wasn't the point anymore. I just needed to beat the game. Thanks to this, I quickly make it past the hands, and into the next obstacle of Delta Labs, the low gravity room. The gravity, expectedly, is low, making gauging my jumps difficult. There's also these laser beams, which I can only assume will kill me if I stand in front of them. Approaching them from behind, I find out that they're automatic machine guns. By simply grabbing them and throwing them away, they're completely disabled. So I just have to disarm the turrets on my climb. That should be easy enough. I just have to carefully climb up, disabling them along. A laser net comes up to meet me. As I desperately flee from it, trying not to run into the path of the turrets, it's not lost on me how familiar the situation is. A lethal floor, rising up, ready to kill me if I make any mistakes. But with the turrets shooting me, I can't make it. I end up falling into the lasers. It's alright though. I've seen what's ahead and I'm ready to face it this time. I get past Teeth, up the shell of Habitation Yellow, and find myself back in the low gravity room. But I once again die in the scramble to get up. This time, I'm sent all the way back down to the Interlude. From here, if I tried to climb up, I would have no save points. No retries if I fell. Fed up, I end the run of my own volition. After I got off the game, I kept thinking about that sequence, because despite the turrets being an incredibly simple obstacle, they still made that section challenging. It's not just because they're a new obstacle, it's because this sequence needs both mechanical and tactical skills. Mechanical skill, as I'm describing it here, is just your ability to do different things, such as making a far jump or quickly climbing up a ladder. Tactical skill is how you plan to use your mechanical skills to get past any given obstacle. So, while I might have had the mechanical skill to get past the sequence, I did not have a good strategy to do so. To compare this to another game, Celeste requires a similarly high use of both mechanical and tactical skills. In that game, the A-sides will teach you the basics of a new level mechanic. The B-sides will use them in more challenging ways, and the C-sides will use them in even more challenging ways. So, as you get later into the game, you have to face the same obstacles in more difficult sequences and combined with new elements. Exactly what I was seeing in White Knuckle. As far as I'm concerned, this is what it looks like to effectively utilize a simple gameplay loop to make a game more and more challenging as it continues. And while I could have spent hours and days dwelling on the game's level design and how it challenges the player, I had a game to finish. So I noted it down as something to study for a project I'm working on and maybe a video later. Maybe I could even shill, like... It's gonna be so stupid. Hey, you should press the funny YouTube buttons because Big Number is awesome, and you don't want to miss out on awesome. I was fucking tired when I wrote that shit. Anyway. From the top. Bottom. Whatever. Silos are a breeze. I've been through them so many times that they're second nature at this point. Oh, hey, they added the ability to save and quit. Pipeworks is still a bit tricky. The steam occasionally messes me up, but I recover and make my way to Ascent. Which is the same every single time and poses no issue anymore. Teeth. Still difficult without climbing upgrades, but I already grabbed some, so I can handily make my way to Delta Labs. Low gravity. I'd been thinking about how I'd get past this once I got back here. Carefully, I disabled as many turrets as I could without activating the laser field. This leaves one of them, which I make my first priority to take out before I leave. Then I consume this bottle, which gives me infinite stamina for a limited time. Then I start climbing. I completely ignore the laser floor below me and make my way to the turret, quickly throwing it off its platform. 2 jumps later, I'm at the end. Frankly, I was astonished that I struggled with such a tiny section of the game. That was easy. On to the hand section, which is relatively easy so long as you go slowly. Unless, I don't know, a hand is directly in your path and you turn around to look for a different way through and it grabs you. I still had my save points though. I quickly make it back to Delta Labs, and find myself in a new room, a long, rotating tower with turrets around it. I tried to disable the turrets, but it doesn't go very well. At this point, I decided to end the run. I wasn't dissuaded, but I did need to sleep. So, the next day, I started a new run. Silos, Pipeworks, Ascent, Teeth. I'm back to Delta Labs in no time. I very carefully make my way past the hands. I know how short low gravity is now, so I use an item that lets me climb up any surface to get through it in record time. Now for the long tower. To get past this, I had a plan. I didn't actually need to disable the turrets. So long as the tower is between me and the turret, it can't see me. So I scramble up the rotating sides of the tower and into a vent, the other side of which shows me a gruesome scene. Blood splattered everywhere, bones littering the ground. I climb down. That is unideal. There's a noise behind me, and I am not eager to find out what it is. I open the door, and that is the end of White Knuckle's current early access. At least as of now. The next update comes in a few days, and it's gonna add a new area. Very unfortunate timing for me. I meant to have this video done a month ago. I'm planning to stream my first impressions of it over on my Twitch, since I haven't streamed in like half a year. So if you want to see that, link in the description. And I might even make a short about it. So if you want to see that, or anything else I make in the future, do the YouTube things. And honestly, if you're still watching this, surely I made good enough background noise to make you want more, right?